What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dead Ball TV. Today I got a beast of a video recapping everything from Group A of AFC World Cup qualifying during the March window. I have a ton of talking points for all six teams, right? This is not going to be one of those videos where I just talk about the big boys and then the small teams don't even get a mention. Like, I have things to say about everybody. All notes are on this cellular device right here, and we're going to go through all six together. But before I do, guys, if you like videos about Asian football, make sure you hit subscribe. I mean, just click the AFC tab on the channel and you can see the hundreds of videos that have been dropped covering Asian football. I mean, like, the grind is real, and if you guys don't want to hop on this train, and that's fine. You're not required to hit subscribe. I just think you would like the content. That's all. And drop a like on the video if you could, because a lot of research goes into putting these together, and I have to watch games at 1 o'clock in the morning, and anyways, this is not me trying to get sympathy from you guys. Let's get straight into the actual meat and potatoes of this video. I'm going to recap the table and how it looks right now, and then we'll get into the team-by-team analysis. Currently, Iran are in first place on 20 points. Uzbekistan is second on 17. UAE in third on 13 points. Qatar in fourth on 10. Kyrgyzstan in fifth on 6. And North Korea, unfortunately, in dead last with 2 points. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this group in the standings are exactly how they were after the last window. I don't think we got any movement whatsoever from this. I think Kyrgyzstan were in fifth, Qatar were still in fourth, and Uzbekistan were still in second. So nothing really changed, even though a lot went down. And I'm going to start with Iran here, who had a 2-0 victory against the UAE. Really, this should have been a 3 or 4 goal victory, not because the UAE were terrible, but because I thought Iran were that good. I just think the levels of this team compared to UAE, right, kind of like a tier 2 AFC squad, it's just incomparable. I mean, we've seen Iran do a controlled demolition of the UAE in 3 straight games now. And so anybody trying to still bang the drum that, I don't know, Iran aren't that good, or Iran aren't kings in Asia, or that the UAE are next up. I mean, I don't know how many more minutes of football you need to see between these two sides to know that, yeah, there's levels to this, and Iran, different level than UAE completely. I thought Mohebi and Azmoun were just absolute menaces in this match. More on both of those players later, because I got a bone to pick with some of the Iranian fans. Of course, then we had the 2-2 draw, the 4th consecutive draw between Iran and Uzbekistan. If this is not becoming an Asian rivalry, then I don't really know if we're ever going to get a new rivalry, because these boys cannot stop playing each other. And not only can they not stop playing each other, nobody can win. Nobody can win. I thought Iran were the better team. I will push back on any Uzbeks saying that they deserve to win this game. No, you didn't. I think Yusupov saved a point for Uzbekistan in this match. If you want to go big chances, if you want to go shots that should have gone in the back of the net, I would probably go, not even exaggerating, 7-4 in favor of Iran. Now, Uzbekistan were great. I'm going to talk about them. They're going to be the next team, but just maybe you could say defensively neither team were great, or on the flip side you could say offensively both teams were fantastic. I'm going to choose that angle. I really thought the play that we saw from the Iranian attack was tremendous in this game, and I'm at the point where I'm comfortable saying Iran have the best attack in Asia. I know some people will argue for Japan, who I think are the only other competition, maybe Jordan as well, but we haven't seen the Asian Cup Jordan attack in a minute. We haven't seen that since round 2. Hit subscribe for Group B. It's not what this is about right now. Japan have the depth that Iran don't have, but if you just want to go, the 5 guys up top, the 5 guys that can start at any given moment, I just think Iran are unstoppable. I really do. And I guess if you need a tiebreaker, you can look at who won the last game when these two teams played each other. You can look at which offense gave the other team's backline more problems. It was Iran 100%. I do think they have the best offense in Asia right now. I said that Iran and Uzbekistan had drawn 4 times in a row, and I wanted to look and see if this has ever happened before, where Iran have played a team 4 consecutive times and it never won. And it's actually happened 4 times. Do you guys think you can guess the 4 teams? Uzbekistan is included in that list. So Uzbekistan plus 3 others. Do you guys think you can guess the other 3? I'll give you a second. Okay, time's up. Right. we ain't got time for the time in this video, if you know what I'm saying. The other 3 teams are Saudi Arabia, South Korea, and Iraq. Now, the difference between Uzbekistan and those other 3 teams is Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and South Korea in their 4-game, in Iran's 4-game winless streak against those sides, there was at least 1 friendly in all of them. some type of international friendly, some game where the stakes weren't really high. Uzbekistan are the only opponent where all 4 of those games were competitive matches, which I give extra stake to. What I thought was weird or interesting or sad, depending on how you want to look at this, all 4 of those winless streaks for Iran against those sides happened in the last 20 years. And what's even worse is 3 of those streaks are current for the Iranian national team, meaning Uzbekistan, Saudi Arabia, and South Korea, Iran's current form against those 3 sides, they have 0 wins in the last 12 matches against those guys, which is kind of crazy. Now, Saudi Arabia, they've been played in a long time. South Korea, they were in the last World Cup qualifying group, and South Korea got the better of them. And now, of course, Uzbekistan, this is just a guaranteed draw if you're a betting man. Does that mean that Iran are getting weaker? Does that mean that Asia's getting stronger? I have no idea. Comment down below. I just thought it was interesting. Other talking points. So, Iran become the 2nd team to qualify for the World Cup. And I just want to say congratulations. I think they've been a good side. Yes, they have problems. Absolutely. I just get a little bit of a chuckle when I see the team talked about like they're dog shit when they're not. Like, they have issues, right, that are going to be explained by myself in a second. I'm sure Iranians watching know, but you know, I feel like I'm in a situation where I'm not as emotionally invested, so the dangers that I can see, the warning signs for this team, just don't damage me as much as they would if I was Iranian. I'm not going to doubt that at all. Of course, everybody's more emotional about their national team, but I just think how Iran get talked about sometimes, like it's a freaking disaster, like it's a cesspool. I mean, I just want to ask anybody, like, have you seen South Korea? This qualifying group. Have you seen Saudi Arabia? Did you see Iraq in this window that just went down? Like, have you seen the Asian Cup champions, Qatar? They're in your group. They're actually doing quite bad. We'll get to them later. Like, it could just be so much worse. And I feel like the percentage of news I see about Iran, I'm not even kidding, is 97% negative, 3% positive. At least in the English-speaking Iranian Twitter circle and online. It is 97% negative, 3% positive. And I just think that's a little harsh. This team is very strong, right? This is a good side. They're still daddies in Asia, okay? They just have some issues when they come up against bigger national teams, which maybe I can get into right now. I've said this before in recap videos, but I think the biggest weaknesses for this team continue to be the same. Funny how that works. Defense and concentration. I'll start with concentration because I think it's a little easier to summarize. I feel like every single window, Iran has at least one moment, usually spanning at least 20 minutes, where the guys just check out. And this is where I think Galinoy as the manager deserves more heat because he is the manager who's responsible for keeping these guys locked in. If you want an example from this last window, you look at the Faisalayev free kick, should have never, ever in a million years gone in. There's 3 Iranians who can all clear the ball. Baranvand can probably go for the ball, but he rightfully assumes, oh, surely one of my teammates is going to clear it. Nobody says anything. Nobody takes the initiative, and the ball trickles in the back of the net. And I'm watching this like, are Iran actually about to lose now because of a goal like that? That's where Galinoy is the manager. He's got to be irate, screaming on the sideline. And I just don't think he's that guy. And we've seen other cases like this against North Korea in the second half where Iran, yes, they get a red card, but they also stop playing and almost drop points in that game. They gotta clean that up in the World Cup. And I think they will. I think they will tap in. I think they're a little bored, much like Japan gets bored. So that's not as big of a problem as issue number 2, which is the defense. In the Uzbekistan game in particular, Khalilzadeh was trash. He was awful. And he is going to get exposed at a higher level. I think Kanani, being the other center back next to him, he ain't it, man. That as a center back pairing, it's good enough for Asia, right? It's good enough for Asia. Mohammadi, I think he's a pretty solid fullback. What's my other boy's name? Hardani. I'm not really that convinced by him. I think he's okay. Again, serviceable. He's not as bad as the center backs. But that defense is just terrible. And you can see Iran having conceded 7 goals in 8 games. That's very un-Iranian of them to do. Typically, Iran have the best defense in this stage of the competition, and they just don't right now, and it's namely because of that center back pairing. If there's anything Galinoy needs to replace in the 11, it's get some new blood in the defense because these guys are simply not good enough to go up against any elite national team. I want to move on to a question that I posed on my own Twitter. I asked, who is the MVP of Iran's qualifying campaign? aka, who is their most important player? And I had Taremi, Mohebi, Azmoun, and someone else as the options. Let me go see who won that poll, actually. I'm quite curious. I'm looking at the results here. We had almost 250 people vote, which is great. Many Taremi finished first. Mohebi finished in second. Azmoun finished in third. And here's where I gotta say, I disagree. Mehdi Taremi is not the MVP of Iran's qualifying campaign. He has not been the best player for Iran either. In my opinion, the answer is Sardar Azmoun. And I think it's time for a lot of Iranians watching right now. You owe that man an apology. You owe that man a handwritten apology. Because when he made the transfer to UAE, he got eviscerated. Y'all said you never wanted to see him in the national team ever again. I remember the videos. I've seen the tweets. I've seen the Instagram stories. I've seen it all. You guys think I don't pay attention? I'm obsessed with Asian football. I see everything. And this guy, what he has done for Iran, you are not the same team without him. And if he doesn't play the World Cup, you guys are screwed. You're getting grouped. 100%. You absolutely need Sardar Azmoun. What he does for this team is insane. First off, physically, he's unstoppable in Asia. Even Abdulkadir Husnov, Mr. Man City, couldn't really deal with him. And Husnov's biggest attribute is physical prowess. He was outmatched. Think about the game against Japan at the Asian Cup. Ko Itakura could not hang with Sardar Azmoun. He's too fast, too physical, but you know what? Outside of that, he's a good player. He's got a very high technical ability. Even when he's not scoring goals. And look, he does miss goals. He's not clinical. He's not Harry Kane. He's not Haaland. He's not Lewandowski. But he's a damn good player, and Iran are not nearly as good without him as they are with him. You need him in this team. If he's not scoring, he's doing backheel flicks. He's constantly causing problems. Other teams are terrified of Azmoun. And so I just think the performances that he's been putting in, despite all the criticism he received after his latest transfer, I think it's admirable. And I think you got to give him props for that. If you want to say it's Mohebi, I would not fight you on that. I would allow Mohebi as the answer. I think he's the feel-good story of Iran. I think he is the proof that Iranians need that, yes, our next generation, we got some ballers in there too. So I will allow him as an answer. Mehdi Taremi, I think he's firmly third if we're going most important players for the Iranian national team qualifying campaign so far. So I thought it was interesting. I did disagree with most people on there. Last thing I want to say about Iran here is the Galinoy out crowd, right? Because there are reports that he's going to be sacked. And I'm just going to say this. Do I think Galinoy's a good manager? I think he's solid. Do I think that the number one issue for Iran is the coach? Absolutely not. Do I think that Iran are playing to their max potential? No, I don't. I think Galinoy probably has this Iranian side playing at an 8 out of 10 capability, 80% of their capability. But those saying that Iran are like 30% capacity with Galinoy, ridiculous. Ridiculous to even claim something like that. I just don't think you like Galinoy, if that's your position here. For me, if this happens, it's a big move, a bold call from Iran to get rid of Galinoy. Now, I'm not going to die on this hill and say he's a good manager, so if he goes, he goes. But for me, the only way that it pays off is if you bring in a new guy and he's got to refresh the ranks. Like I'm talking Baron Vond, it might be time. It might be time to get rid of him. You got to replace nearly the entire defense. And the painful truth is Jacques Bosch cannot start. If a new manager comes in, Jacques Bosch has got to be on the bench. The guy is... he's been a little fraudulent lately. And he cannot start for Iran going forward. Right? So if you're serious, if you're one of these guys who's like, bring in the next gen, bring in the young guys, Jacques Bosch got to get dropped. You cannot justify his inclusion in the starting 11 anymore. He's been the worst attacker for Iran the entire qualification. Yeah, I know his pen beat Japan. I don't care. That's got to be a position that the next manager replaces and replenishes. And also, you better make it out of the group stage at the World Cup. If you sack Galinoy and you get grouped in the expanded World Cup, I'm going to have a lot to say on that video. I'm just going to say hit subscribe for that. Anyways, let's move on to Uzbekistan. 1-0 win against Kyrgyzstan. It honestly could have been 6-0. I think that the performance was a 10 out of 10. The result was a 7 out of 10, right? It doesn't flatter how the Uzbeks actually played. I thought they were incredible. 2-2 draw versus Iran. I already talked about this from the Iranian perspective. I'll talk about it from the Uzbek perspective now. 4 consecutive draws against Iran. 4 consecutive draws against the second best team in Asia. I just don't know how you could not consider Uzbekistan a top 5 national team in Asia anymore. Because if you look at the other teams that are battling to be in the top 5, right? There's a lot of good teams in Asia. There's only 5 spots in the top 5. Duh, right? So who's getting in there when you already have 3 spots automatically taken by South Korea, Japan, and Iran? And then you got the Aussies who are kind of back. And, they're probably top 5 right now too. You look at the other teams. Jordan, Iraq, UAE, Qatar. Do any of those teams play 4 competitive matches in a row against Iran and don't lose? And not only don't lose, make them all competitive and have several opportunities to win at least 2 of those games. No way in hell. I mean, we've seen Qatar. We've seen what they do. We've seen the UAE get bodied by Iran 3 times. I'm not having that. Saudi Arabia? Does Saudi Arabia go 4 games in a row against Iran right now? Absolutely not. That's probably 3 L's, if I'm being honest. Iraq? Iraq don't go 4 games in a row. Jordan? No. With how their attack's been lately? No. So I'm not trying to be insulting to these teams. I'm trying to say, if you're going to say Uzbekistan's not top 5, I need a strong argument for why not. Because they're in second on 17 points, and they're going toe-to-toe with one of the toughest teams in Asia. So, for me, they got to be top 5 right now. I will say it is disappointing that Uzbeks haven't been able to win any of these games, right? That would be the statement victory that I still think this Uzbek generation is missing. I feel like I'm watching Sasuke versus Naruto over and over again, where it's like nobody's really winning and nobody can really kill the other character. So it's like, oh my God, how many times are these guys going to do Rasengan versus Chidori, and then just the whole battle map is going to blow up, right? I'm trying to get who's actually better. I would love to know, but I still think you got to give them credit for how they've handled qualification, getting a new manager in here unexpectedly, going up against Iran like they do. I mean, just shout out to Uzbekistan, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now, I did want to briefly talk about Faisal Alive because he has improved for Uzbekistan as qualifiers have gone on, right? I was pretty critical of him in the first couple rounds. I thought he was ineffective. I didn't really think he was doing much. Probably since match day 5, he's been arguably Uzbekistan's best player. But I just want to say, because it's true, that he needs to work on his finishing. I think Faisal Alive is much closer to the Salem Al-Dawsari archetype than he is to the Mo Salah archetype. He's not really a goal-scoring winger. He's very good off the dribble, he's got good vision, and he generally makes the right decisions. But for him to not get goals in this window is kind of crazy because his expected goals would have to be 3 or something from these 2 matches combined. His one-on-one finishing is quite poor. I referenced the Baron Von save earlier. I mean, he's one-on-one with the keeper. He's got to take the shot. He doesn't really have confidence shooting with his weak foot either. I'm not trying to be, trying to drag this guy. I think he's incredible for his age, and I think he's getting better. But he's still not the complete, absolute package that I see some people saying online. He's really good, but he's got to put his shooting boots on or at least discover them at some point. Or, he's still going to have a great career, but he just won't reach the heights that he possibly could otherwise. Eldor Shomurodov. Now, the goals and the assists still are not there yet during this qualifying cycle, but he is crucial for Uzbekistan. And they are similar to Azmoun with Iran. Uzbekistan or not Uzbekistan without Shomurodov. The way that he's involved in the build-up is incredible. He's a very skilled 9. Very good passer, strong. Again, makes the right decisions. Had a couple good shots, too. He had his penalty saved against Tokatev, but overall, even though he doesn't have the numbers, I just want to say I think Shomurodov had a very, very strong window. And also, another player that I don't think I've mentioned too much on this channel is the right back Alirjanov. This guy is crazy saucy. And if there's one thing that I think Kapadze needs to do is he probably needs to start Nazarlayev at the left wing back instead of Safiev. I just think Safiev is just washed. I don't really think he's a very good player. But if you can get a situation where you got Faisalayev and Israev on one side and Iluzhanov, and I guess it could be Erkinov, maybe it's Uranov, maybe it's Masharipov, I don't really know. That is a very scary attack for Uzbekistan. So I kind of feel like that's the final puzzle piece. But Iluzhanov, man of the match against Kyrgyzstan, he was insane. And I kind of think it's funny that I think he wears like long tights underneath his shorts. So like if Uzbekistan's wearing blue, like his whole freaking body looks blue. If they're wearing white, his like whole freaking body looks white. You don't really see a lot of footballers do stuff like that. That's more of like a basketball thing. I don't know if he does that to cover tattoos or why he does it, but he's very distinctive and easy to identify in the field, which I appreciate because sometimes these camera qualities in Bishkek or Tashkent, it ain't exactly 4K. So I appreciate that I can always tell, oh, that's Iluzhanov right there, due to the fact that I cannot see one piece of skin on his entire body. One kind of more negative takeaway about Uzbekistan is I feel like, and I have been feeling like something with the attack isn't quite clicking. And I just have a theory. I'm not saying I believe this. I just have a theory. Is the answer Masharipov? Is he the weak link in the attack? Because how Uzbekistan have gone at Iran with Masharipov versus without him, I think they're better without him. I don't think Masharipov is a terrible player. I'm very frustrated with Masharipov. I think he's very selfish. He plays football like he's on the Uzbek Olympic dive team, and he was actually suspended for being an idiot and diving in the Kyrgyz game for no reason whatsoever. Like, he is probably my least favorite player on the Uzbek national team. And I just wonder if he's maybe a position that maybe he comes off the bench. Maybe it's better to start an Erkinov out wide and Uranov when he returns healthy. And Masharipov is kind of like the difference maker, first substitution type guy. Just a theory. I would love to know what Uzbeks think about that. I don't really have any hard data, just something that I think I've been noticing over time. Overall, though, Uzbekistan are, a draw away against UAE in the next game to qualify for their first ever World Cup. I mean, this team and their ascension is incredible. I've enjoyed following them from the beginning. I cannot wait to see what happens at the World Cup or what type of friendlies they get once they're, done with this round of qualification. I just really hope people respect this national team because they're a good side. All right, let's move on to Qatar, right? We've had way too much positive energy on this video. It's time to get a little ugly and, drop some truth bombs and get through the shit, right? 5-1 victory against North Korea at home. Qatar at home, looking like a pretty solid side. Qatar away from home, maybe the worst team in round 3. I'm not even kidding. In the North Korea game, I thought that they annihilated the North Koreans offensively. Akram Afif put in one of the best single game performances I've ever seen from an Asian player. It was just incredible. The assist that he had in this game, his passing range, just an absolute class baller all around. I didn't even think defensively though that Qatar were that good. I just think Barsham, the goalkeeper, decided to show up for like the first time since the Asian Cup and make a couple good saves in this match. Were Qatar 4 goals better than North Korea? No, it probably should have been a 5-3, something like that. But I guess I was correct in predicting that this was going to be an absolute shootout. I mean, 6 goals, good Lord. Now, they looked like they were going to get back on track to maybe even push for a second. Unfortunately, they went away to Bishkek and lost 3-1 to Kyrgyzstan, and this one is crazy to me. This is a theory-shattering result for myself about Qatar. Because you look at the UAE results that have happened already, and I tell myself, okay, it's a rivalry game. Maybe that's why type thing. Like, rivalry games, sometimes they get a bit crazy. Sometimes they're harder to predict. You look at the circumstance with, giving up terrible penalties and all this stuff. You can talk yourself into saying UAE is just a bad matchup for Qatar. But then they lose to Kyrgyzstan 3-1 away. And I know they got a red card. I don't care. They could have easily parked the bus or at least just managed the game and gotten a point. And instead, they capitulate late in the second half to not only lose 2-1, they lose 3-1. And the defending on both goals is awful. And this is where I'm looking at Qatar, and I'm going to put my neck out there and say there's no way they qualify for the World Cup in round 4 because they cannot hang with any team in Asia that they would run up against in that round away from home or in a neutral venue. I just think it's done. Like, I actually think it's done now. The offense will continue to score goals. They still created good chances against Kyrgyzstan. But if the defense is going to be that bad and they're going to make these mistakes religiously, I think it's over for them. I really do. I think the defense is one of the worst I've ever seen. And I think the regression from Asian Cup champions to what we're seeing now, I can't even explain it at times, guys. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what's wrong. Marquez is gone. In comes another Spaniard. And it's arguably the same, maybe even worse. I mean, 3-1 to Kyrgyzstan. That's like a new low for the Qatari national team. It really is. It's one thing to get beat up by a fellow Tier 2, but a Tier 3 Asian nation beating you down like that? I mean, where do you go from here? I remember way back in the day, I said that if Qatar were in a harder group in round 2 of qualifying, so the round before this one, would they have struggled? Would they have even gotten grouped? You know, like a Tajikistan or something like that. I mean, at the time, it seemed like an insane shout to make. They just won the Asian Cup. But now looking back, I mean, where is this Qatar team if they have to play harder competition more consistently? It's shocking, right? Nobody can take the Asian Cups away from these guys, but you just look at this. You look at this and you say, what is going on? I mean, I've never seen a Federation champion regress this hard. Last thing I want to say, Akram Afif. He is the best individual player in Asia, and I don't think it's close. And I think in this window we saw the absolute best and worst of Akram Afif. We saw a guy who had 1 goal and 4 assists and created 15 chances in 2 games. To put that into perspective, because a number is just a number without any information behind it. That is the same number of chances that Mehdi Gayedi has created for Iran in the entire round 3 qualification. That is more chances created than Salim Al-Dosari, Joel Kojo, Ritsu Doan, Ali Jassim in all of qualifying. In 2 games. I don't care if it was North Korea and Kyrgyzstan. Guess who else is playing North Korea and Kyrgyzstan? Mehdi Gayedi and the rest of the Iranians. Nobody put up numbers like that. Nobody from UAE put up numbers like that. It's absolutely insane. I think it's more than Harib Suhail too. I have to check that. So that's the high of Akram Afif, but the low is he gave up and he quit on his team in the Kyrgyzstan game, and he is the reason they lost. He was walking on the pitch for the last 30 minutes of the game, and he should have been taken off because he doesn't mark his man on Kyrgyzstan's winner, the second goal, and the rest of the game, he's basically just got his head down and has given up. And if his head's gone, his head's gone. You got to sub him off. But I thought it was a terrible look for Afif, and I thought it was a weak moment for Garcia, the manager, because he didn't have the balls to do something about it. Now, does he do something about it after the fact? That's something I would love to see. And I'm very curious if he has the gumption to do so, because it's not easy putting the star boy on the bench. Because Qatar without Afif, oh my gosh, I don't even want to know what that looks like. I mean, if he serves some sort of internal suspension, which again they won't because they need him. It's like you don't suspend LeBron, even if he quits. I mean, if that were to happen, they're getting crushed. They're getting crushed in round 4. And Kyrgyzstan might even have a chance to steal that 4th spot from them. That's how bad it would be without Akram Afif. But I was really disappointed as a guy who's a big Afif fan. He needs to be better than that, and I thought it was a display of weakness from him, quite honestly. Moving on to North Korea. You want to talk about guys who disappointed me. 5-1 loss to Qatar. 2-1 loss to UAE. Now, there's a world where home games are played in Pyongyang, and I'm fully confident North Korea have at least 1 victory, maybe 2. But that's an alternate universe, right? I'm not Thanos. I can't jump between dimensions. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not goddamn, who's the other guy who can do that? Ant-Man? I'm not Ant-Man, okay? So I don't know what's going on in that world where Pyongyang is hosting games. Maybe North Korea are in second place pushing Iran right now. I don't know. What I do know is this team really, really fumbled the freaking bag this window. It was not out of the question to get a draw away in Qatar, and it was not out of the question to beat UAE. Losing to Qatar is one thing, whatever. Qatar good at home, I get it. Conceding 5, that's pretty bad, but you came up against a FIFA's best game in qualifying. I understand. The UAE game, shameful. Shameful. I feel like the North Korean team didn't realize that they needed a win. Like, did nobody tell them that Kyrgyzstan had beat Qatar, and so basically if North Korea didn't win, it was over? Did nobody on the sideline have a cell phone? Did they not have cell service in Riyadh? I'm pretty sure Saudi Arabia is a decently advanced country. I think they had data. If they could have, just checked FOTMOB or sent me a DM, I would have let them know that you guys need 3 points. And instead, they barely wanted to play ball this game. It was really, I think, maybe the worst North Korea performance outside of Kyrgyzstan away was also pretty bad. At least they were better defensively in that game, but defensively they were poor against UAE, didn't generate any chances. When they drew the game level, which they didn't even deserve to do, they parked the bus. They didn't even go for it, and then they concede. I think rightfully so at the end of the game. Sultan, I think, scores the winner for UAE. I still cannot believe what I saw or why I saw it. Look, I don't know who the North Korean manager is. I don't know what his objectives were. I don't know if he's facing the sack. But what I do know is that he managed this game horribly, and that North Korea, they are eliminated now. Like, it's done. And they're too good of a team for that to be the case. They're too good of a team to be the first one to get eliminated, and to go out on a freaking whimper like that. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in North Korea. I will always remember the good times that they gave us during qualifying. And look, now that they're eliminated, they're probably going to make somebody else drop points. That's just who these guys are. But not a very good match for North Korea overall. Moving on to the UAE. 2-0 loss to Iran and a 2-1 win versus North Korea, like I just talked about. Look, I'm going to get straight to the big one here. Paulo Bento has been sacked as UAE manager, effective this morning. Now, I've been very critical of Paulo Bento, and I think that he's crazy overrated. And it looks like the UAE Federation agrees with me. How I look at the sacking is I do think it is risky, right? Similar to Galinoy, you only sack Bento if you believe that your ceiling is higher than what it is with the current manager. With Paulo Bento, the level and the ceiling of the UAE was probably beating Qatar, right? Ironically, I had written down that we will find out their true level against Uzbekistan under Bento, but now Bento's gone, so I had to change my notes. It might have been Qatar. If you look at the best wins that Paulo Bento had as UAE manager, he beat Bahrain away in round 2 of qualifying, and he beat Qatar 8-1 on aggregate. But the really good teams that he played, not very good results. 3 losses to Iran. Lost to Tajikistan at the Asian Cup. Let's not forget that. Drawing Palestine at the Asian Cup. Losing to Uzbekistan, but drawing North Korea at home. Like, god damn. It really was not that good. And this is why I just fought so hard against anybody saying the UAE are good. And I think the worst thing about them beating North Korea late is that people are going to still be saying that they're good. I'm not convinced, man. I'm really not convinced. Now, I don't know who's going to replace Paulo Bento. His job is going to be, making the offense a little bit better? Because the defense was pretty good under Bento. He's a defensive manager. I just don't know if this is gonna pay off. I don't really rate the UAE squad super highly. I think they're probably the 9th best team in Asia, 10th best team in Asia. They were the 9th or 10th best team in Asia under Paulo Bento. Sounds about right to me, right? Like, he wasn't grossly underperforming. He wasn't overperforming at all. He was doing exactly what you kind of expect from this UAE squad. I didn't really see the sacking coming. It's a bit of a surprise. I would have given him to round 4 and see if he gets eliminated there. But I guess they're looking at the World Cup and saying, we're getting grouped with Bento, so we might as well shuffle the deck. It is what it is. It's still a very shocking decision and not one that I saw coming at this point in qualification. Now, other talking points for the UAE, I thought it was another pretty strong window for Harib Suhail, who he would still be on my top 5 list for MVPs right now of AFC qualifying. I think he's been exceptional. He got the assist, the winner against North Korea. Just continues to have impact in every single game. I think he had the most chances created in both matches as well. He's just a really, really good player. He's definitely a breakout star if he's not in the MVP list for me. Now the UAE also debuted a bunch of new Brazilians this window, and I haven't really talked about this with the UAE on the channel, but I'm going to now. It's unfair for me to give Indonesia smoke for doing this and not giving the UAE the same energy. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I was looking at the UAE starting lineup against North Korea. 6 Brazilians and 1 Ivorian in the starting 11. I just think that's embarrassing. Like, what are we doing here? It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. This is not club football. I cannot stand seeing this crap happen. It just bothers me. It bothers me. Now, if you want to make me the dictator of FIFA, I would make it so that you can naturalize 3 players in a decade. You can naturalize 3 players in a decade. That way, you want 3 Brazilians on your team? Get 3 Brazilians, baby. You want 3 guys from the Netherlands? Get 3 guys from the Netherlands. Although that's even different because technically their blood, I guess, is Indonesian. These guys are Brazilians. That's it. Choose wisely. None of this bullshit where you got 15 guys from Brazil and Uruguay and Ghana and stuff coming in. It's ridiculous. It's killing international football. And some people, oh, Jack, but UAE's not that big. Well, I mean, they're a small country. Bro, the population of UAE is 10 million. That's a lot of people. There's a lot of countries on Earth with less than 10 million people. And they can find and develop 11 players. Right? How is Uruguay winning Copa Americas with, 4 million people? In South America, and UAE with 10, more than double that, can't find 11 guys? It just drives me absolutely mental, and I had to get that off my chest. I cannot stand it. This is why I can't root for the UAE. Now, I will say, I thought the Pimienta guy, who was one of the new debutants, I thought he was pretty solid. The others, I don't know. I don't know about them. It is what it is. I'm not really going to put too much more emotional stock in how these guys' careers pan out. And last thing I want to say, because I just thought this was interesting, I said in the preview video that Barsham was the worst goalkeeper in Group A. I thought he was fighting Tokatev, who Kyrgyzstan's next. I think he eliminated himself from that conversation. And I had a couple people say that Isa from UAE is the worst goalkeeper. I don't know. I mean, did you guys watch the Iran game? I thought he was pretty good there. I think he's a pretty solid goalkeeper. Am I tripping about that? I'm not saying he's the best, but like the worst goalkeeper? Isa? I don't know, man. I remember the Asian Cup too. He kept that Tajikistan game respectable. That was almost an embarrassment for the UAE. And the last team here, guys, I told you this was going to be a long video. Kyrgyzstan, who lost 1-0 to Uzbekistan in Tashkent. I think myself and many other people were expecting a beatdown on the scoreline. Now, it was a beatdown. Like, it was a massacre. But I think this will be remembered for all eternity as the Tokatev game because he saved the Shomurdov penalty. And I don't know how many saves he had total. It has to be more than 6. I would say he had 7 to 8 saves if I had to guess. I didn't check before making this video, but he was exceptional. And I think he, removed himself from that kind of questionable goalkeeper status. I really wasn't sure what to think about this guy. He's still got a howler in him every once in a while, but he's young, and I do think I have a little bit more faith now that Kyrgyzstan have their goalkeeper for the next 10 years. Now, the next match, 3-1 victory against Qatar at home. Let's just get right to the talking points here. Kyrgyzstan were in competition to be the worst team in round 3 coming into this. Is it responsible to say that with this victory against Qatar, that they have separated themselves, from the other bottom teams, that they have officially separated themselves from the likes of a China and of a North Korea? Now, I believe we still have a Kyrgyzstan-North Korea game left in a neutral venue. So if North Korea win that game 2-0, then I guess it goes back to being a wash. But regardless, very impressive win for Kyrgyzstan, and I think it qualifies as a statement win. I think beating the Asian champions 3-1 when you're a team that's never even been this far in the competition to begin with, I think that's a statement win. And I talk about this all the time, man, all the freaking time. It's important for teams to get these because they seem impossible until they happen. And then when they happen, usually good things come to follow. Another team that got a statement win this window was Palestine. That's going to be talked about in the Group B recap. They beat Iraq. That is their best win in God knows how long. And that matters. And I would not want to play Palestine in the final match days. because they just got this momentum. They just got this belief back. I wouldn't want to play Kyrgyzstan right now at home after they just beat Qatar like this. These things matter. I'm not saying that Kyrgyzstan going to become Iran level. I'm not saying that, but it really means a lot that they were able to get this because I didn't think it could be done, and they did it. So congratulations to Kyrgyzstan. I'm not even sure I thought they were going to get 6 points, and they could finish on even more. I mean, they beat North Korea again. They're on 9 points. I mean, mission success. Mission success for Kyrgyzstan. And last thing I want to say, Almiradon Shukurov. Probably the best baller in Asia that nobody's heard about. I think he has quietly put together an excellent campaign for Kyrgyzstan. I think he has been their best player. I think some people would say Tokateyev. Some people would say Joe Kojo. No, it is Shukurov, hands down. He got the third goal against Qatar in extra time. Great finish. I think he's got 3 total goal involvements, maybe 4 for Kyrgyzstan at this stage of the competition. He's basically what I thought Alikulov was going to be for Kyrgyzstan, and just a great player. Great player. I mean, he's going to be the heart and soul of this team for, a decade. I think he's 24, 25, something like that. So just a baller that I felt like I had to shout out because he's a big reason that they are in the fight for 4th place. Y'all, Kyrgyzstan are in the fight for 4th place after 8 games. That alone is a huge dub. It's going to be a long shot, and if they don't get it, I still think it's a successful campaign. But the fact they're still here means these guys are doing all right. Means this group, they got a little something at least, okay? I'm going to end the video there, guys. I hope you enjoyed this essay about Group A from the March window alone. I'm going to be having very similar videos like this for Group B and Group C dropping on the channel soon. And then I got a couple other one-off videos covering Asian football on Deadball TV. So don't miss those. Hit subscribe, guys. Drop a like in the video. Let me know your biggest takeaway down below in the comment. Let me know if I said something you agree or disagree with. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.